Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, August 12th edition of the Daily Pulse, the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming in from the WellPoint Studios here on this beautiful, albeit steamy, Tuesday morning. Hopefully, if you're watching it today, you're someplace nice and cool, preferably by a pool or somewhere. If you're watching it on a later day, I certainly hope it's a little bit better and cooler weather for you out there. I am joined today, as you might have noticed by that opening shot, by my sometimes co-host, the empty chair. And you know what that means, folks. It is a Trigger 'em Tuesday edition of the Daily Pulse. Today, we're going to look at the Lowell City Council agenda tonight, which is packed full of items, councilor motions, manager responses, all these other things. It's a long, long agenda. It'll be a miracle if they can get through this by the 10 p.m. Curfew that they've self-imposed on themselves. I see a lot of bundling in our future tonight, but there are some interesting items on there, some things that stand out to me, other things that may stand out to you. And we're going to talk about them. And one item got me doing a little digging, and it appears we've got fans all over the world. When we say that the Daily Pulse keeps its finger on Lowell, or on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it, we're not kidding, because people from halfway around the world are apparently listening and heeding my advice. We'll get to all of that. First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. Of course, you know about 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐠𝐞𝐫, right? Licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐠𝐞𝐫 is your man. You can find him easily enough online, realestateRayBooten.com. That's realestateRayBooten.com. Thank you as well to WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint Studios. It's the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, WellPoint. Going to thank our other sponsors in a few minutes. You know the deal here. But let's get right down to it here. Tonight's City Council agenda. 28 City Council motions alone. And there's a number of board appointments and board resignations, people stepping down as their terms expire, public hearings, all sorts of things going on there. But the real meat of tonight's meeting is, well, in those 28 city council motions and in what technically falls under the city clerk's order of business early in the meeting. Item 3.2. Cancel the August 26th City Council meeting. You know, in the summertime, they meet on it's an almost every other week schedule. It's technically the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Today is the second Tuesday of the month, August 12th, so they will meet tonight. August 26th, they want to cancel the meeting. Why? Well, because the last check, 7 of them, plus the city manager, assistant city manager, 2 assistant city managers, Connor Baldwin, the CFO, and Giovanni Baez-Rose, the Director of Planning and Development. They're all going to be in Geneva, Switzerland, what some have termed a junket, what I have termed a really big deal for the city of Lowell. And unfortunately, the calendar didn't allow even more of them. Calendar and other circumstances didn't allow more of them to go there, because I think this entire city council and the city administration should take a bow for their work on this Frontrunner City initiative, and they should get all the accolades that they deserve in Geneva, in Switzerland, the European home of the United Nations. When I first heard that there was a potential United Nations trip involved in this, I thought, they're just going to ship them to New York City, right? No. They're going to they're going to Geneva, Switzerland, and hence they have to cancel the August 26th meeting, meaning they'll only have one meeting this month. Add that to the fact that you've got an election season, so councilors tend to get a little bit more active in filing motions. You know, you've got a primary, preliminary for some on September 9th, then you've got the general election in November. So you tend to see this every year, every 2 years, I should say. No real surprise that you get more motions as we get closer to the election season, but you throw in the skipped meeting and all this business that needs to be done beforehand on other things, not just the council agendas, and you've got the makings of a long meeting tonight. Going to work a little bit in reverse order here. I'm going to save the council motions for the end of the podcast. Plus, that's where the trigger 'em part comes in, I think. Although it shouldn't. It really should be, again, another cause for celebration. I don't know why it's not being treated as such in some quarters, but we'll go to the manager's communications and item 7.1B, a motion response from the city manager. And that was a request going back to a few weeks ago, the July 8th meeting, where Councilors 𝐏𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 and 𝐏𝐿𝐥𝐲 requested the city manager compose a letter to our state and federal delegation requesting they consider options to encourage the availability of hydro-treated vegetable oil for use in emergency backup power generators. We did pretty much an entire daily pulse on this, and what I thought the hydro-treated vegetable oils, the HVOs as they're known, it's a technology that's not yet ready for prime time, and whether it's really all that clean is, I questioned. Even the night of the meeting, we were previewing the meeting, even the night of the meeting, it seemed like the steam had been taken out of this hydro-treated vegetable oil motion, as even some of the folks in Lowell's environmental community, the Sustainability Council and whatnot, had said to me, nah, this isn't really going to make a difference. This isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Still, the motion was made, the motion was passed, and city manager's team, this one came from Sean Machado, assistant city manager. They gave a nice little page-and-a-half response. They actually crafted a letter to Representatives Elliott, Hung, Howard, State Senator Kennedy, and then, of course, U.S. Senators Elizabeth Warren, Senator Ed Markey, and State Third District Representative Lori Trahan, our congressperson here in Lowell and beyond. So they're gonna look into this. Maybe they'll get somewhere in Massachusetts. Again, I question that, as even I said, some of the environmental folks seem to be a little bit dubious about these hydro-treated vegetable oils and whether they really make a difference. Washington, D.C., good luck. Good luck. We've entered a new era. There's a new sheriff in town in Washington, D.C., and I'm not so sure they're going to stop heaven and earth and data centers, a.k.a. the backbone of artificial intelligence, for my used fry-later oil at Athenian Corner Restaurant, as I pointed out, or Cobblestone's used fry-later oil, and the Worthen, our sponsors here at InsideLowell. But when I saw this pop up, I kind of did a little chuckle to myself. I'm, wow, they really did. They did kind of put in a letter that they're going to send. Yeah, we'll see. Also, item 7.8, city manager requesting out-of-state travel. That is for the Frontrunner City trip to Geneva. And the item, if you look at in the packet, the city council agenda, there's a little packet on this item. It highlights that 11 people will be making the trip. As I told you, 7 city councilors, 4 members of the Golden administration will be making the trip at an expense to the city of $33,258. Which, my understanding is there's some other people going, family members, etc., who are paying their own freight and whatnot. That's all well and good. I'll be honest with you. I don't have a problem with the $33,258. If we're going to start to be, fiscal watchdogs here over city spending, I can assure you there are areas where we can save some real money and waste dare I say. I don't see this as waste. Again, some people do. It's been called a junket. You know, more power to you. I think this is something that should be celebrated by as many of these counselors as possible. It's, what is it, $3,000 per person? Is it really that big a deal? If 6 or 7 people went, it would be $21,000, $22,000 instead of $33,000. Is this the price? You know, we keep hearing, you know, this is you can't put a price tag on democracy every time you hear about the wasted costs of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days of early voting plus unfettered mail-in voting that people barely use in municipal elections. You know, you want to save money? Let's look at that, which we will in a second. But are we really going to worry about a $33,000 expense for something that is going to bring in billions of dollars of investment? And I know there's some doubting Thomases out there. I know I talk to you. Some of them come on here. Some of you talk to me off air. You know, where's the beef kind of seems to be the thing. Where's the thing? It's coming. I've been telling you since last winter that this is coming. This is real. This is not some, you know, pie in the sky, pipe dream or whatever. This is going to happen. And I'm telling you that by the end of 2025 and 2026, you will publicly hear about the very first project, and you will hear the price tag. We may find out about who's actually making the investment and how much of an investment. And I'm going to tell you, folks, this is a different ballpark. This is not begging somebody to come into Hamilton Canal and put up a 6-story steel build or 5-story wood build or what. The Lowell City Council and the Lowell City Administration is in an arena that I'm not sure many of you have grasped yet. I'm trying to tell you. I haven't steered you wrong yet. I started telling you that this was a big deal in the winter. I kept banging the drumbeat in the spring, and you got a little taste of it when that Urban Economy Forum delegation came here in July and went around the city and started telling you what this is about. That should have been enough to tip you off. If now they're inviting you, your city, and its representatives to their second home, their European headquarters, and we're going to bitch about $3,000 a person because an extra, I don't know, handful of people. I wish all 11 counselors had gone and the 4 members of the administration. Why not? Part of the deal is these people like the buy-in. Having this turnout shows you the buy-in. Having that many counselors go to Toronto showed you the buy-in. And I know there's a couple of counselors who went in Toronto who aren't able to go this time. Some who couldn't go to Toronto and are able to go this time. And bravo, bravo. Don't be such negative ninnies. There's a lot of stuff to be negative about. Trust me, there is. This isn't one of them. This is something to be celebrated. And long term, you're going to laugh at yourself when you think about the fact that you thought this was some kind of a junket. I can tell you, folks, there are people taking junkets. There are state and federal officials taking junkets. This is not it. This is not it. This is an important component. So celebrate it. Celebrate it. The time will come where a lot more people will celebrate it. And if you're still one of those negative ninnies, and I know that you exist, I know you'll be out there because God forbid you have to give credit to people you may not politically align with or politically like. You don't want to have to give them credit. That's on you. That's not on them. That's on you. All right. Item 8.7 on tonight's City Council agenda. Early voting schedule. We got a little peek at when Elections Director Will Rosenberry would like to have people vote in person and early and where. Now, it still has to be approved by the City Council, and I assume that will happen tonight. Hell, it's August 12th, and early voting is going to begin in a couple of weeks. So it behooves them to do it tonight, especially since they don't have another meeting. So my hunch is the schedule I'm about to show you is the one that's going to be followed. Let's take a look at it here. This is the proposal from City of Lowell Elections Director Will Rosenberry. This is the schedule he would like. Now, I call your attention to the second paragraph that says that the Lowell City Council adopt the following in-person early voting schedule to be held at the Lowell Senior Center for the 2025 preliminary election. First bit of news there. There was some talk about not having it at the Senior Center. Hell, there's a motion on the agenda tonight that says remove the voting from the Lowell Senior Center. This is on election day to the Stocklosa School. That's, I think that was filed by Councilor Paul Ratayem. It was. I just confirmed it as I looked at my notes. But as there were folks trying to find an alternate location, saying early voting interferes with some of the things going on, the programming at the senior center, and because it's not just one day, election day, it's a series of days leading up to it. Let's find a different location. We've chatted with Will Rosenberry. Go back and find him on a previous Daily Pulse. He was here along with former Mayor Bill Samaras, and we talked extensively about some of the issues that he's looking at, some of the challenges, the pros and cons of having different polling locations. Looks like Mr. Rosenberry has determined Senior Center is your best bet for those 5 days of early voting. Starting Saturday, August 30th, 18 days from now, 2.5 weeks, and going through Friday, September 5th. You'll also notice the early voting hours, somewhat limited, 3 p.m. on most days. We got a 4 p.m.er in there on a Saturday and a 6 p.m.er on a Tuesday. I assume part of that has to do with taking Senior Center event scheduling, activity scheduling into consideration, but also, Tuesday being the longer day, 6 p.m., that's the day City Hall is open till 8. So it makes sense. 5 days for early in-person voting, more than enough. Let's be honest, more than enough. You don't need more. You probably need less. Not that many people. I remember in 2023, we told the story of early in-person voting at a location. And this was when they didn't have it at one uniform place. They were bouncing it around. And I was told about one location, I believe it was the 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲, the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, where one person voted during one of the early voting days. One person voted. The person who did that was the poll worker who was there and felt horrible about the fact that nobody showed up to vote and didn't want that entire day, that entire setup to be in vain. So he or she cast a ballot. 5 days of early voting. You got 6 days of early voting for the general election, by the way. That's the proposal by Director Rosenberry, starting Saturday, October 25th and going through Halloween, Friday, October 31st. So though the handful of you, one of you, none of you that wants to vote early on Halloween Day instead of on November 4th, you can feel free to go in your costume and send us your picture at Inside Lowell. We'll be happy to publish them. Why do we need early in-person voting? As long as you have mail-in voting, which, by the way, I think that in a municipal election is the biggest waste of taxpayer dollars. But, you want it? Good for you. You got it. But do we really need these 11 days? Do we really need 11 days of early in-person voting when you have an election day for in-person voting and you have mail-in voting if you so choose to do so? Do it early. Well, you can't do it late, but do it. Again, you're worried about a $33,000 trip for a once-in-a-lifetime announcement about your city on a world stage, and yet you're going to waste money for no people, one person to vote per day in an early voting thing? Come on. Let's be real. Anyway, take a look at it, screenshot that, freeze your screen, whatever you need to do. But there is what the Lowell City Council will, for all intents and purposes, adopt tonight as part of their early voting election schedule. All right, you're tuned into the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it, hyper-focusing on Lowell with a hint of the world around it coming in just a minute. Let's thank all of our Daily Pulse sponsors if we can. Of course, Ray Booten. You can find him online, realestaterayBooten.com, and you need to go there if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property. Thank you as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you to Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. I have to head on over there right after my podcast, as a matter of fact. Thanks as well to TMI, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI Properties. The Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to generations of families in our communities since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Prevention Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on to insure its most valuable assets since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. All right. Back to tonight's Lowell City Council meeting. Though, again, there's a bunch of other stuff. I always encourage folks, check out the agenda. And if you do it online, you can download all these packets that I've kind of downloaded, and I'm showing you here. All of it is available. Some really good information in there. Do so. It's released on the city's website by noon on Fridays. It's my weekend reading to a large degree, like it is for the city councilors, and there's a lot of good info in there. One thing I forgot on that isn't part of a city council motion, and that is it's a response regarding item 10.1, electric vehicle parking charges. All of you Tesla owners and any other electric vehicle that you may own, and you've been taking advantage of the free charging stations in the city's parking garages or elsewhere throughout the city, depending on the street. There's a certain locations where there are EV chargers there where you can step in there and park and charge your vehicle and not pay for charging your vehicle. I don't know if you paid for parking, but guess what? Now you're going to start paying to park at these places, the regular rates, just like everybody else in the city. And you're also going to pay a cost to charge your electric vehicle. You're going to pay for the electricity you're using. It's about time. It's about freaking time. Again, where's all my fiscal watchdogs? You're worried about a trip to Geneva? But you were okay with people coming in here, wealthy people who can afford a $75,000 Tesla, getting a plug into the taxpayer-funded electric vehicle charging station, and getting free electricity to boot? Come on. Where are you guys? It's estimated. This from Parking Director Terry Ryan in the council packet tonight. It is estimated that approximately $150,000 could be generated to cover the operating costs now borne by the Parking Enterprise Fund. If I may correct Parking Director Ryan here, the cost isn't borne by the Parking Enterprise Fund. That's 3 words, Parking Enterprise Fund. That's not bearing any cost. The Parking Enterprise Fund gets its money from you, the taxpayers of the city of Lowell, the residents, the businesses, whoever. And you've been subsidizing rich folk to charge their Tesla, and some folks of more modest means who have the more affordable electric vehicle models. But come on, where are you, fiscal watchdogs? $150,000. It means you could generate that. In other words, that's what you haven't been generating for all these years that people have been charging their cars on your dime, the taxpayer dime. You want to own a Tesla, you want to own an electric vehicle, knock yourself out. You want to set up your house to charge it, knock yourself out. You're bearing that cost. You're paying that bill. Hell, put solar panels on there and you can charge your own car. Do whatever you need to do. You put it in a parking garage where the Parking Enterprise Fund, which is taxpayer money, is funding for you to charge your vehicle? No way. Pay for it. You're going to pay a reasonable price. What is it? 35 to 40 cents per kilowatt hour is the rate that's proposed here. There's 35 stations, I guess, throughout the city. I guess they've thrown in an additional 5 cents to help defray the cost of networking and service plans for the 35 stations. There's also, by the way, there's also a $50 fine if you're going to pay the same amount if you're idling your car or if you leave it in there too long, your vehicle in one of these meters or whatnot. You're going to start to pay special event parking along with your charging fees, and you're going to pay parking fees and have parking time limits, just like the rest of the city's taxpayers do. I do believe that you may, if I saw it correctly, you may get a 4-hour window. I'm looking for it right now. My apologies for ignoring you, but I think I saw that they're giving you 4 hours to charge your vehicle. I can only park my car in the same spot for 2 hours until I have to move it or get a ticket. I think you're going to get 4 hours, but don't completely hold me to that. That's a question for Terry Ryan tonight. But thank you, Terry Ryan. Thank you to the counselors who brought this up. Thank you to everybody who said, hey, yeah, enough with the freebies. Tesla owners, you all, come on, where's my liberals who hate Elon Musk, right? Look what he did to you with Doge. You want your taxpayer dollars to subsidize his vehicles being charged? You want to encourage more people to buy EVs because they don't have to pay for charging in the city of Lowell? Screw that. Give us the $150,000. Yeah, sorry, that's the trigger me part of Trigger Me Tuesday. All right, as we mentioned, 28 council motions. It's election season. And they're going to cancel the August 26th meeting because they won't have a quorum. The 7 city councilors are doing like the Texas Democratic state legislators and just leaving they're not even leaving the state, they're leaving the country, so we can't have a quorum. I mentioned Councilor Paul Ratayem's motion. Excuse me, it's item 6.2, move the senior center voting to the Stocklosa School. I'll be curious to see how that plays out. For one day, on general election day, maybe it'll be amenable for elections director Will Rosenberry, but for a 5-day period while school is in sessions, I don't think that was going to fly. Hence, the early voting, as it says there, is going to stay at the Lowell Senior Center on the 5 days before the preliminary and the 6 dates before the general election. Motion 6.4 caught my attention. It was a motion by Councilor 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 to have the City Council craft a letter to the Board of Directors, I should say, at Market Basket, telling them about all the good that Arthur T. Demoulas has been doing in Lowell and the community, and to ask for his reinstatement. Now, you'll recall that such a letter went out. Mayor Rourke and the City Council signed on to that letter. It's on InsideLowell.com. Head there. You can look at it. Hit the search bar on InsideLowell.com, and you can see, enter letter to Market Basket, and you'll see it there. Beautifully crafted letter. It says exactly what Councilor 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 said. So when I saw it pop up on the motion, on the agenda, I'm like, hey, does he want another letter? My hunch was that Councilor 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 submitted that motion 2 weeks ago because, again, they haven't had a meeting in a long time, and it didn't get canceled or cut out of the agenda. Reached out to Councilor 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 this morning, and sure enough, he said, yeah, no, we sent the letter. I sent an email trying to get this removed from the agenda because it's not needed anymore. Somehow it got missed. We're not discussing this again tonight. I was curious if they wanted another letter because, by the way, the Market Basket situation is escalating, and it's starting to get acrimonious now, where we've got whistleblower reports. We've got the Board of Directors filing, charges of intimidation and taking out restraining orders on former employees, telling them they can't go anywhere near the stores anymore. It's starting to get ugly, and it's starting to play out in media. There's a mediation session coming up early in September. I think September 3rd, if I remember the right date. So I wasn't even going to bring up the Councilor 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 motion again, because it's not going to happen out there. For those of you wondering, it's just an oversight. It's been done. It doesn't need to be on the agenda, but it is an opportunity to highlight how that market basket situation is starting to get ugly. Remember that old cheer? What was that movie? There was like a football movie, or like a funny football movie, and the cheerleaders had this like cheer, UGLY, you don't need no alibi, you ugly, yeah, you ugly. That's all I can think of. This market basket situation, it's getting UGLY. It's getting ugly. All right, one more agenda item caught my eye. City Council motion 6.11, filed by City Councilor 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐠𝐶𝐞𝐫, requests City Council adopt a resolution in support of de-escalation of the conflict with Thailand and restoration of peace and security that respects Cambodia's sovereignty. You remember, it was right before Folk Festival weekend. They started shooting at each other, and there were bombings taking place between Cambodia and Thailand over a border dispute. And they've had skirmishes historically, but this one was a big-time escalation. And I was talking to members of Lowell Southeast Asian community, some who said to me, I'm both Cambodian and Thai. And they were like, whatever's going on, they just got to stop this. And I think I came back, I think it was the following Monday or Tuesday, and as part of one of my podcasts, I mentioned that by the end of that weekend, President Donald Trump and his administration, whoever did it, I don't know if it was Secretary of State Marco Rubio or other, foreign policy envoys, or whether it was the president himself, but they got a ceasefire and they stopped, and Cambodian and Thai forces stopped shooting at each other, and hopefully they come up with some kind of a resolution to the disputed land and who owns it and how they can peacefully coexist so these things don't pop up. But you know me, if it involves President Trump, remember what I said about sometimes people just don't want to give credit to people they don't agree with politically because they just can't. They can't bring themselves to it. And I was talking about the negativity around the front runner city thing. So I jokingly said, I remember that podcast very well. And I said, is somebody going to send a thank you letter to Donald Trump for getting this done so quickly before it escalated to the point where there was a lot more bloodshed and casualties and deaths? Let's send a letter of support. And I started looking around some of the social media pages, some of the Southeast Asian media pages. They were, and rightfully so. If you're Cambodian, you're going to defend your country. That's your homeland. You still have family there. You still have friends there. It matters to you. You don't want to go to war with Thailand, which has a much larger military than you. It's like, so I get it. I get the angst. It was real. And Donald Trump got it. He responded to it and got an immediate ceasefire, and hopefully he can also foster a lasting peace. So why not say thank you to Donald Trump? You should. So Ben, at the 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 Post, how about a nice editorial thanking Donald Trump? I know it would hurt you, but I mean, do it. Do it. After all, it appears that my podcast that day made it to the capital of Cambodia, because none other than 𝐵𝐻 𝐼𝐻, the leader of the nation, very controversial leader. And I get it. That's a landmine here that I might be stepping into. And I'm not picking sides. I can't tell you about Hun Sen's benefits, negatives. Is he really reforming the country? Is he oppressing folks? There are people who say there's oppression going on and political oppression. And I honestly, I don't doubt it. I don't know enough to know it. But I do know that in this matter, having that exist while fighting a war with Thailand is not a bad thing. So you should thank the guy, or it is a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing that it was solved, and you should thank the guy that helped broker that peace, right? 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿 did so. Right on his own Facebook page. I looked up the 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿 Facebook page because I had heard that he nominated Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, that's going to make the lefties spin. That's going to make the lefties and the local Marxists spin. 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿, you know you don't like him and you have reason not to like him. But then he goes and says, nominate. I want to nominate United States President Donald Trump. He, him, look at that. Look at that picture. Look at that mugshot. Give him a Nobel Peace Prize for fostering a ceasefire on that long contested borderline? No. That's clearly he's listening to our podcast here at InsideLowell. I will tell you that our Google Analytics show us that we do have an audience that stretches all around the world, Ireland and other parts of Europe and South America, you know, and yes, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, all over the world. People are consuming InsideLowell news stories, content. Most of them probably tourists, travelers who are traveling from the U.S. and our area and going over there, but we're getting pings overseas. And I got a hunch by looking at this, because I'm pretty sure Lowell's community didn't send this to 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿. You know, 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿 must have seen the podcast and said, yeah, not a bad idea. Let's nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. And here's the letter that was part of that Facebook post, and you can see it there, sent to the Norwegian Nobel Committee at Henrik Ibsen's Gate 51 in Oslo, Norway. Came from Cambodia, 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia. Dear esteemed members of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, I, as the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia, have the great honor to formally nominate the Honorable Donald J. Trump, 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his historic contributions in advancing world peace. Let that sink in for a second now. This nomination reflects not only my appreciation, but the heartfelt gratitude of the people of Cambodia for his crucial role in restoring peace and stability at the border between Cambodia and Thailand. Goes on to talk about Trump's extraordinary statesmanship marked by his commitment to resolving conflicts and preventing catastrophic wars. Says this is but one example of his achievements, exceptional achievements. If I didn't know better, I'd swear Donald Trump or Carolyn Leavitt, his press secretary, wrote this letter. This reads like one of the White House rapid response Twitter feeds, or even Donald Trump's Truth Social feed, but it really is a remarkable letter. And I'm telling you, folks, if I didn't know better, I would tell you that somebody in the capital of the Kingdom of Cambodia is listening to the InsideLowell Daily Pulse and saying, thank you, Donald Trump, for fostering peace. What better way to say thank you than nominating the guy for a Nobel Peace Prize? Sometimes we joke, sometimes we have a little fun, but it is a good thing, is it not? Is it not a good thing that the president recognized this conflict and immediately stepped in and helped stabilize the situation? Let's enjoy it. All right, I'm going away for a bit. You will not see me for eight more days on the Daily Pulse. Next week, you won't see any Daily Pulses, but my good friend Danielle McFadden, Madame President from the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, has graciously agreed to step in tomorrow, Wednesday, August 13th, Thursday the 14th, and Friday the 15th. She's got some great Daily Pulses planned featuring some of our young athletes, some of our young superstars who covered themselves, but more importantly, covered the city and our community in glory with a fantastic run, baseball run at 3 different age groups. Plus there was softball, there was a Drake baseball team, some tremendous athletic accomplishments. Danielle has been highlighting all of them on InsideLowell.com with stories and all over our social media. She's literally putting up scores and results and photos right after these games are taking place. So thank you, Danielle, for doing that. Thank you for stepping in as well on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so we can give everybody another complete week of the Daily Pulse, and one that will be trigger-free. You know, Danielle, she's not going to, maybe she'll trigger some of the towns that lost to Lowell baseball, but she's not triggering any of you Lowellians. She's a much better person, a much kinder person than I am. In other words, she's not an a-hole. I am. But I do want to, before I go away, I just want to wrap up 2 quick things here. Some feedback coming in. Chinlong Deep, going back to the maintenance of effort discussion that we were having with Lowell High School, the new construction project and whatnot. I'm sorry, with the city budget, their maintenance of effort. It says, I could have sworn Councilor Noon filed a motion that passed unanimously to ask the city manager or some city official to revisit the maintenance of effort agreement like back in earlier this year. I looked it up, Chinlong. Yes, it was May 20th. Councilor Noon filed that motion, and Jerry Nutter actually put a little more detail in his Sunday Notes column. Nutter's Sunday Notes from this past Sunday talked a lot about maintenance of effort and the agreement and how it hasn't been updated and looked at in a long time. Michael Porter's, we were talking about why did the Rourke Bridge get so expensive? How did it go from 60 million to 300+ million? Literally overnight. Okay, maybe not overnight, a matter of like a year and a half, 2 years. Michael Porters writes, don't forget about Trump tariffs, which may or may not have been included in the bid for the Rourke Bridge. Michael, Trump tariffs. This thing was bid long before the Trump tariffs. This thing was in the pipeline long before anyone thought there was a remote chance. I thought there was a chance Donald Trump could get back into the White House, but not many of you, especially here in Massachusetts, thought there was a chance of that. Let's not, what are we going to blame everything on the tariffs? Everything was just, what next? The Kennedy assassination, was the Trump tariffs the third shooter in the grassy knoll? Did the Trump tariffs, cause the Hindenburg disaster? I mean, come on. Enough with this Trump tariffs thing. Cost of construction in Massachusetts is bleeping insane. Partially because we're not designing a bridge, we're designing a park over the Merrimack River with all those little jut-outs and park benches and the multiple walking and biking lanes. Again, where's my fiscal watchdogs? You want to really save money for the taxpayers of Lowell and Massachusetts? Let's pay attention to them. Don't blame Mike. I know, Michael, you're good. You're a good dude. Has nothing to do with the Trump tariffs. I promise you, it had nothing to do with the Trump tariffs, and neither is all this other fake stuff that's being blamed on it, except maybe the gunman on the grassy knoll at Dealey Plaza. I think the Trump tariffs may have had something to do with the Kennedy assassination. Anyway, thank you for joining us on today's Daily Pulse. This wraps up the Trigger 'em Tuesday edition of the Daily Pulse. Till next time, everybody, stay safe, stay cool, and it may be a while. It's going to be about a couple of weeks before we see each other again, but I'll catch you on the other side.